Let's call a spade a spade. The Building Bridges Initiative process is facing resistance in this country. That's the reality. And I've been asking myself one simple question. Why should the Building Bridges Initiative process face resistance in this country when it is being spearheaded by President Uhuru Kenyatta? Uhuru Kenyatta was voted overwhelmingly by his supporters. Why should the Building Bridges Initiative process face resistance in this country when it is being spearheaded by Raila Odinga? Raila Odinga was voted overwhelmingly by his supporters. So both Uhuru Kenyatta, who was voted overwhelmingly by his supporters, and Raila Odinga, who was voted overwhelmingly by his supporters, teamed up to spearhead the Building Bridges Initiative process. But the process is facing resistance in this country. Why is it facing resistance? Today, I want us to look at the 5 possible reasons why Kenyans are expressing resistance towards the Building Bridges Initiative process. But before we go into all those details, if you're watching this video for the first time, I want you to take a second or two and click the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. Now back to the main issue. The Building Bridges Initiative process in this country is facing some resistance. And those who are opposed to it are actually having a field day. And that's why when William Samoei Ruto, who is the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, met with the pastoralist, Raila Odinga, who is the face of the Building Bridges Initiative process, had to meet with them after his meeting. And that's why yesterday, the Deputy President William Ruto met with the MCS from Wajir. And today, Raila Odinga has met with the MCS in Nairobi. So there's some resistance. And why are we witnessing this resistance? In my view, because of 5 reasons. Number 1, the first reason why we are witnessing this resistance is because of the failure by President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga to deal with the propaganda over the Building Bridges Initiative process in time. Let's face it, after 2017 general election, this country was divided right in the middle. Then Raila Odinga decided to enter into handshake with President Uhuru Kenyatta. And out of that, they came up with a 9-point agenda. And those 9-point agenda, for them to be actualized, they created what they were calling the Building Bridges Initiative and formed a task force, which went around the country and collected views from Kenyans. But there was propaganda over the entire process. William Ruto believed that the process was all about stopping him. So he engineered propaganda against this particular process. So they started naming it, they started giving it different names. Beba Baba Ikulu, Blue Band blah blah initiative, so many names. To an extent that today, those propaganda are still with us in this country. For example, the Building Bridges Initiative process is proposing that we have President, Deputy President. We have Prime Minister and 2 Deputy Prime Minister. And we also have the official opposition leader in this country. So the opponents of the Building Bridges Initiative started a propaganda that the whole thing was about creating positions for the political elites in this country. While in reality, President Uhuru Kenyatta has consistently maintained that he's not going to stay in power. The initial propaganda was that we were going to have an executive prime minister. And that executive prime minister was being created for President Uhuru Kenyatta. So they failed to deal with the propaganda on time. And that's why they are facing resistance today. By the time they're not dealing with all these issues, it's already late. It's just like the last referendum, where there were propaganda after propaganda to an extent that Maasais were convinced that voting for that particular constitution was going to mean that they were going to take their cows and cattle from them by force. So that's the power of propaganda. And Kenyans have swallowed some of this propaganda. So Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga, as a matter of urgency, through the Building Bridges Initiative Secretariat, must start dealing with this propaganda. For example, today, if you wanted to read about the 9-point agenda and what the report is proposing, do we have a booklet? Let's say a 10 or 20-page booklet just explaining how the Building Bridges Initiative process is going to deal with all those. None. The only document which is available is the 224-page report, which is very difficult for most Kenyans to read because, again, Kenyans are poor readers. So they must deal with the propaganda. The second reason why they are facing resistance is because they made this process a private affair and secret. So there was a bit of secrecy in this process. And most people were now questioning. Just like in your home, when you have a kid and there's something you normally hide somewhere. So the kids will be interested in knowing, hii ni nini daddy wanaficha hapa kila mahali. So ukitoka tu hivi, atachukua. I remember this at a time, sometimes last year, but one. My kid was going to school. Then I just gave him some fee, put in some envelope, nikamwekea kwa mfuko. He was still a young boy. Nikamwambia wewe enda tu upande gari, ukifika shule upe mwalimu. So by the time I was leaving him at the gate, the boy was already counting the money. Just because I told him, hii usitoe kwa mfuko. So because they made this process appear as if it was a secret, very few people understood details about this process until the time now they started collecting views. And even during the collection of views, it was still very private. It was very difficult for some people to actually give their views to this team. And because of that, they are facing resistance. Number three, the third reason, I think President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga underrated the determination of William Samoei Ruto to stop this process. William Ruto is a front runner for the presidency in 2022. He's the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. So which means the only thing which was standing between William Ruto becoming the president was the term of President Uhuru Kenyatta. But all of a sudden the handshake happened. And from nowhere, the Building Bridges Initiative came up. And from nowhere, collections of views. And from nowhere, we are talking of a prime minister, we are talking of a president, we are talking of the official opposition leader. So the deputy president decided that the only thing which is now going to stand between me and the presidency is Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga and their Building Bridges Initiative process. So he embarked on a journey of stopping that process. And at every stage, the deputy president has made an attempt to block it. I was reading a post from one of my friends. It's called Charles Makwiny. He made an interesting post. He's saying, from in quotes, we will stop your reggae, to hakuna mahali hiyo reggae yenu inaenda, to ripoti bandia, to let us have a consensus about the reggae, that you are ever mutating Deputy William Ruto, who has spent 2 years attacking BBI while campaigning for his 2022 presidential bid, defying directives by his boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta. So basically, the deputy president has done everything within his powers to undermine this process. Even today, he's still undermining this process. The president and Raila Odinga are talking of signature collection. He's talking of consensus. Basically, he's trying to delay this process. Remember, the process has been delayed by COVID. I am sure if we didn't have the COVID thing, today we'd be talking of a different story. Probably we would have concluded this Building Bridges Initiative process. But now he's talking of building consensus, while the process has been ongoing for 2 good years. So the deputy president's determination is what these guys underestimated. I think they felt that being a deputy president of Uhuru Kenyatta, there was nothing he was going to do. He was going to just to fall and support the president as long as the president sends signal. And probably that's why the president even allowed him to appoint some members of the task force as a way of appeasing him. So they underestimated his determination to stop the Building Bridges Initiative process. Number 4, the fourth reason is how the government managed the COVID. COVID came into this country and indeed globally. And the effect is being felt in all corners of the country. People were rendered jobless. The sad reality is that today, no single Kenyan has ever received a single mask from government. If I were part of the government, what I would have done was simple. I would have pushed the government to do a very simple thing, because the protocol was simple. Wash your hands and sanitize. Keep social distancing and wear your mask. Those 3 things. So the only thing there which had cost implication was the mask. How much does it cost to produce a mask? If I were in government, I would have advised the government to team up with tailors in this country. Locally, you come to Kibuye, we have them there. You go any other place, then you produce mask. Let's say even at 200, even at 300. Still, wale wanakula bado watakula tu. But at 300, then distribute to every Kenyan a mask. And then start by ensuring that people are there to these particular protocols. But what happened? Money came into this country to mitigate the effects of the COVID. The next thing, we had the COVID billionaires. So Kenyans were really bitter, and Kenyans are still bitter up to now. That a pandemic, that a virus as serious as what we are facing, and Kenyans are very bitter up to now. That while Kenyans were struggling, Kenyans were leaving their jobs, some people were actually making money out of their problem. So because of that, there's resistance. And that's why even people, like when President Uhuru Kenyatta, which in my view, and I've said it here severally, and I'm repeating, I think the president has really tried in managing this particular crisis, apart from this corruption scandal. And when the president during that time was busy asking Kenyans to try to stick to the laid down protocols, the deputy president was outside there, campaigning, meeting people, and openly defying the protocols. The deputy president would go to rallies. Of course, these other guys were going to rallies, but even without a single mask. He would take photos after meetings without a single mask. So basically, he was telling people that ugonjwa is not there. It was only meant to stop him. So the government managed this particular COVID thing badly. And because of that, there's resistance. And lastly is the state of economy. The economy is doing poorly. Today, I was reading in the papers that NHIF will no longer cover for COVID. Of course, maybe it cannot, based on cost implications. But that's not the right time. Economy is so bad. Then you are telling Kenyans that there's 14 billion which you want to put on a referendum. 14 billion in a budget of trillions is just a drop in the ocean. But because the state of economy is so bad, Kenyans now feel that that money can be used in other projects. Unknown to them, people like Kabura carried this money in sacks. This is not the only money the government has. This government has money. But because the economy is bad, I don't know whether they are still issuing those vulnerable with the money they were giving them. I still don't know. But the economy is bad in this country. So Kenyans are very bitter with the government. And now the government is coming to tell them that there is a Building Bridges Initiative referendum. I mean, they'll resist. So Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga must deal with those 5 issues. I don't know what you think. Let me know your thoughts on this matter. Thank you guys, and please, if you're watching this video for the first time again, take a minute or two and click the subscribe button. Thank you guys, and please may you have a good day.